there's a machine to measure urodynamic studies, or you do urodynamic studies in people who have obstructed bladders, who can't pass urine. You can measure pressures, pressure differences. And that particular machine was actually designed by an engineer who subsequently did medicine in West, in UK. See how engineers could contribute to save lives in health. Very unfortunately, we don't have this concept on education very well grasped in our education system, where you can allow a person with 1 degree to go and specialize in another degree, and you can allow a person with 1 qualification and enter university system mechanisms and go up the ladder if that person is capable of doing that. So my wish and my prayer to all of you, so those who become, there are chartered engineers who become chartered engineers today, and others who are getting the graduates who have completed IESL exams, part 1, 2 and 3, and entering engineering fields, to try and see whether you could create an avenue for them to go to the university and get a BSc degree, and then go up the ladder, do PhDs. And I'm sure there are examples of that in your own profession, in this great audience. Now, engineering education and relevance of our education system to engineering. Right. Let me just finish with few stories and I will be done with. I was listening to Professor Dayantha Vijayasekara in 1997, and he can't remember, I can, because I was a young senior lecturer then. In Peradeniya University, the newly furbished Senate, we had a conference on higher education in the 21st century, chaired by Professor Leslie Gunawardena, the Vice Chancellor of University of Peradeniya, and I was the only representative of University of Runa. The Vice Chancellor, Professor Pinadu, then told me, Sujiva, there's nobody to go for this conference, can you please go? And that was a turning point in my life. I learned a lot of things there. And Professor Dayantha Vijayasekara told us, the audience, that he actually did NDT in Moratuwa, and then went to London, University of London, did a BSc degree, did a PhD, came back, became professor, Vice Chancellor, University of Moratuwa, and Vice Chancellor, University of Open University of Sri Lanka, and contributed for the developments of education in Univotech and Mirror. Just imagine the immense contribution made by him in the engineering field. All of you could be very proud of him. Now, if he didn't have the opportunity to get that NDT qualification recognized by the University of London, he would never have been able to contribute that way to our country's education system. So, please don't assume that Z score of 0.1 more than the other person is making you a brilliant person over the other person. That's not true. That's not true in medicine. That's not true in engineering. Please understand that. Your classmate who was sitting next to you, who did not enter the medical school or engineering faculty because they missed out due to a 0.1 mark difference in the Z score, doesn't make him a donkey. No. He should be able to follow his or her own choice in higher education, and especially if we can afford to follow private higher education in this country. And I am really proud of our Institute of Engineers Sri Lanka, because they have never got into mess ups with, unlike many other professions, certainly like medicine. And they have been very clear on their policy positions. We don't oppose non-state higher education. If there is a country where there are 155,000 people qualifying to enter the university system, but only 30,000 people have positions, what should the other 120,000 do? Do you think they should take up guns and shoot you or shoot politicians? Or should they follow their own choices of education depending on their affordability? And that's where the question is. To me, I support non-state higher education, but standards for state and non-state higher education must be the same. There can't be any difference on that. Everybody will agree on that. So please think of this. And what are the other things that I have learned in life to tell you about education? Once I was a young house officer. Soon after my graduation, the first job, internship in Ledrigi Hospital under Professor Priyani Soisa, we had a sanitary laborer. I am not going to tell his name because he's still alive. He's still around. Sanitary laborer who was very clever, very dedicated. but has become a sanitary laborer because he was poor and he couldn't go through his education. So we funded his education. He did O level, he did A level. He entered Workers' Education Institute, University of Colombo, got a degree, and he just retired from the health ministry as an administrative officer, senior administrative officer, non-medical, from one of the institutions of the health ministry. Now that's lateral entry or maybe vertical entry at a later age. I watched a film in 1975, young boy. The name of the film was Saradiel's Son, Saradiel Ki Puta. The story is about Saradiel's son, who is also a thief and a murderer, who was caught by then British Empire police and put in jail. And then he was sent to school. He was about in mid-20s. I can't remember who the actor was, but I can remember the teacher. Teacher was Malini Fonseca. So in Malini Fonseca's class, there was this big man and young children in that story. And Malini Fonseca was teaching him. And other boys were laughing at him. So he was fighting with young boys, but still started to learn and became a learned person at the end. However, the government, or then government, British government was planning to send him, according to the story, to UK on the ship. When he was about to leave to United Kingdom in Colombo Harbour, his mother and his best friend came and stabbed him and killed him because they didn't want him to go and join the white people as administration. So that was the story. But the lesson there is, how do we teach adults who have lost their education opportunities today? And it's a huge problem. Non-formal education doesn't address this problem at all very well. It is ineffective and it is insufficient. But we have thousands and thousands of people who have never been to school, who are drinking alcohol in the evening, beating their wives and children in the community. We need to address this. It's a social level, social problem, which should be addressed through education. So understand your social obligations and social responsibility. Now, let me just conclude by saying a few more things. Humanity is above all of us. Humanity is above law. Humanity is above regulations. All the issues in education system, including violence, need to be looked at from a humane point of view. I'm sure all of you have heard of me now, because we've been in news as University of Runa for the last 2 months at least. Got to be tough. We got to be tough when the going is tough. But we must never lose our humanity and human touch in solving problems. We are able to do that only if violent movements transform themselves into more humane organizations dealing with human issues in a more humane way. And I was surprised I must say, to read on BBC News and listen to BBC News yesterday, where a leader of a prominent political party which leads student movements in this country, that we are still trying to find alternative solutions to ragging. They are still trying to find alternative solutions to ragging. And that's a political leader or leading political party which leads students' movement in this country today. Some of us have been victims. I myself had been a victim of that long time back. Some of you have been victims of that today. Please, my appeal to all of you, please change your positions. Try and understand issues in the context of social problems in this country, in the context of educational disparities, in the context of social disparities and economic disparities in this country. And see whether you could change the model of management in this country, the education model of management, the employment models of management into what we called a newer model, probably had been in the world, in existence in this world for more than 10 years, maybe for more than 20 years, to a model called progressive universalization. Please go back today, search internet on progressive universalization. That's the model that is required in this country now, having come from a more welfare model for the last 70 years. to come to the stage where we are today and with all our achievements today. We cannot progress any further in development without changing our model of management to progressive universalization, where you make sure that welfare is directed towards the needy people and it's taken away from people like me. With those remarks, let me conclude these things while congratulating all of you for your achievements today and congratulating IESL for continuing educational efforts and their hard work in maintaining professional standards in this country, which I think for which they are standing above the medical profession. Thank you very much for inviting me to be your chief guest and giving me an opportunity to address you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for your thought-provoking address, sharing your wealth of experience and your words of wisdom. Everybody, put your hands together and give our chief guest another round of applause. Well, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. This is where we start off with the presentation of certificates to IESL engineering graduates. These graduates who have successfully completed the IESL engineering course of Part 1, 2, and 3. They are now academically qualified to obtain associate membership of IESL. I have great pleasure in inviting the chief guest, Professor Sujiva Amarasena, Vice Chancellor, to please step forward to give away the certificate, with Engineer Professor T.M. Pallewata, President IESL, to accompany him. I'm sure we can put our hands together and give them a round of applause, everybody. The recipients are C.H. Adhikari. Please put your hands together for a round of applause. Why not? This is their moment. N.V.R. Mahendrapala. N.T.D.L. Das. These are all students of civil engineering, graduates of civil engineering. H.D.S. Taraka. D.O.N. Kalutantri, also the discipline of civil engineering. K. Purushothaman, also for civil engineering. W.H.S. Priyanta, civil engineering. B.K.A. Niroshan, civil engineering. K.S. Vidanagamage, civil engineering. S.H.C. Dushanti, civil engineering. T.A.D.G. Sirivardhana, mechanical engineering. P.D.S. Kulathelaka, mechanical engineering. A.G.A. Madhushankar, mechanical engineering. K.M. Priyadarshana, mechanical engineering. W.C. R.K. Abhiratna, Electrical Engineering. P.A.S.S. Sumanasiri, Electrical Engineering. B.J.C. Premaratna, Electrical Engineering. K.A.P.C. Javira, Electrical Engineering. R.D.N. Seniviratna, Electrical Engineering. B.L.S.E. Bovatta, Electrical Engineering. M.M.P. Pereira, Electronics, Communications and Computer Engineering. V.T.K. Dasanayaka, Electronics, Communications and Computer Engineering. T.S.I. Piris, Electronics, Communications and Computer Engineering. J.M.T. Amarasuriya, Electronics, Communications and Computer Engineering. C.K.L. Abhivardhana, Electronics, Communications and Computer Engineering. H.M.I. Herath, Electrical Engineering. I'm sure we can put our hands together and give all of them a big round of applause. Our heartiest congratulations. I'd like to thank Professor Suchiva Amarasena. Professor, you can get back to your seat. And we move on to the Code of Ethics that will be read out by the President, Engineer Professor T.M. Palibhata, President of the Institution of Engineers, Sri Lanka. And I would request the rest of you to repeat, the chartered awardees to repeat what is being said, the Code of Ethics by Professor Palibhata. The new chartered engineers are requested to stand up and repeat the Code of Ethics affirmation after the President.